why is there evil in the world? And why is it that you're suffering in your life? If you're wanting to know the answer to these questions and know how you can end your suffering, how you can turn that suffering into your salvation, then this video is for you. Hi, for those of you who don't know me yet, my name is David. I work as a relationship consultant with my partner Tiffany as part of Sex.Prayers. In addition to that, working as a clarity consultant. If there are things in your life where you find yourself going, I just don't know, when you're trying to think of the solution or the answer, then that's where I come in. But that's beside the point. Today we're talking about the existence of evil in the world and why. Why would God or the universe create evil? Well, I'm going to debunk that straight away and say from a non-dual Shaiva tantric point of view, or at least my understandings of it, it doesn't. Evil isn't something that exists in the universe. The universe doesn't exist in terms of good and bad or right and wrong. Those are human ascriptions. They're things, they're qualities that we impose onto our reality. We see people and term them as good and bad or virtuous and evil, but really that's our imposition onto them. This is why over time things that weren't deemed as bad or evil in the past are now considered to be not very moral. It can change. The universe, however, doesn't operate that way. It just is. And this idea of good and bad, really it stems from the idea that everyone is simply trying to do their best to be happy and free in the best way that they know how, from their particular world view. And this is the important distinction, the important key to note, that it's from their understanding and conceptualization of the world that they are doing what they believe is best for them to live with and maximize their experience of happiness and freedom in life. That's all anyone is ever trying to do. Where we end up in these challenges and these conflicts with people is because some people are more ignorant to the truth of what is, and others less so. And it's due to this ignorance that these challenges arise, that people can do things that cause harm or they cause pain because they don't know any better. Even if they've been told better, there's a part of them at the subconscious level that is still doing what it believes is the best thing to do in order to attain or maximize their own happiness and freedom. And why does this happen? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's this idea of ignorance. This ignorance to the truth of what is. And this is where the idea of non-duality comes in. So in tantric teachings, or in non-dual Shaiva tantric teachings, everything that ever is, was, and will be is the expression of one divine consciousness. That everything that exists is simply an expression of that consciousness. Think of it this way. It's the one dreamer in the dream space. So even though there can be different people in your dreams, or characters or things, entities in the dream that you have, it's all part of your consciousness. Even though there is perhaps you and then someone separate to you, it's all happening in your dream. So they are a part of you. And it's the same idea in this existence that we're living in, that you and I and everyone and everything are just different permutations of the one dreamer, of the one consciousness. Put another way, we're all different waves on the ocean of the one consciousness. That even though we appear separate, we're actually part of the same entity. We are one consciousness looking out through an infinite number of pairs of eyes. The thing is, because of this apparent differentiation, because we consider ourselves to be separate, it creates a sense of separation. It creates a disconnect. When we become so fixated with our sense of separateness, we lose sense and understanding that we're actually part of one consciousness, that if I hurt you, I'm actually hurting myself. It doesn't often seem that way because we have these bodies that appear separate. We have these entities that seem as though they're distinct rather than interconnected. And because of that ignorance, it leads some people to forget that. And as a result, they operate in the world from a very selfish point of view, from an individualistic point of view, and can only then, and oftentimes only do what's in their interest, not in the interest of everyone and everything. The thing is, when you operate that way for too long, it tends to bite you in the butt. At some point, the underlying truth of the universality of consciousness course corrects over time. And this is what the awakening up to truth is. It's why love is the appropriate response to both love and hate. It's called a transcendent principle. When someone wrongs you or hurts you or causes you pain and suffering, it can be easy to become jaded or annoyed or frustrated with them and treat them in kind. The thing is, as we spoke into earlier, the only reason they're doing that is because they're ignorant to the truth of what is. They're unable to see a better way. In offering them love and compassion, even in their displays of unkindness, it shows them a different way. Like I said, everyone's doing the best they can with what they know. And if they don't know a better way, then they won't know how to behave better. And so if we can show them a better way, we can show them that even if you hurt me, I'm still going to be loving to you because I recognize that you and I aren't separate, we're part of one consciousness, then it shows them that there is a different way of acting in the world. And that can be so much more powerful. Because if you try to force someone to behave in a different way, if it's out of their worldview, if it doesn't line up with that, then they're going to believe that you're trying to control them or manipulate them. And they're going to refuse it. They're going to not accept it. They're going to dismiss it. But if you can embody a different way, if you can show them that love and kindness and compassion, even if they don't deserve it, then that gives them a framework to see that there's a different way than the one that they have adopted, the worldview that they are living by. And that's the invitation. And that can be really difficult. But it's the one that offers the benefit to all beings. Because if you can awaken to the truth of what is, to the truth that there is this just one consciousness that we're all a part of, and figuring out how to do the best we can, then you begin to serve others in love, because you recognize that by serving them, you're also serving yourself. And it can raise everyone up. And that's a beautiful thing. So it's said that all beings are Shiva in relative degrees of self-concealment or self-revelation. What does this mean? It means that ignorance to the truth, that so when divine consciousness, this is in the tantric teachings, when divine consciousness freely chose to become you, in order to do that, it had to forget that it was everything not you. And as a result, it became over-identified with its limited perception of self. And this is speaking into, well, why would God or a universe, an intelligent universe, create the possibility of this ignorance? And it's because all possibilities exist within the divine consciousness. It has the ability and capability to freely express all possibilities of itself. And if it didn't, if we said, oh, I'd rather live in a universe, or I'd rather live in a world where we didn't suffer, where there wasn't this ignorance, and we were born remembering that we were one, it would be a limited expression of divine consciousness. And the thing is, with divine consciousness, it's unlimited. It has the infinite potential within it to express itself freely however it chooses. And so part of that is being able to express itself in all ways, in all possibilities, which includes forgetting. Because if it dismissed that part of itself, it wouldn't be loving of its entirety. And so it's kind of the necessary axiom of a human experience, that this infinite potential condenses itself down into this single point of consciousness, which is us. And as a result, because it loves itself so much, it becomes so enamored with its creation of individual expression, and forgetting everything else, it identifies with this limited sense of self. And we can become over-identified with this limited expression of ourselves. This is the human experience. We become so fixated and attached to our bodies, to our thoughts, to our emotions, that we believe ourselves to be this limited sense of self. This is the ignorance. We forget our infinite potential, our limitlessness, become so enamored by our limited expression, and we believe that limitedness is everything. We mistake the whole of ourselves for the whole of everything. And there is this calling. This is what happens. This is where we're called into awakening. We have this experience of life. This is really what what suffering is. So ignorance is seeing only part of the whole but mistaking it for the whole. This is what I spoke into. Because of this ignorance, there is suffering. There is the ignorance to the essence nature, the divine consciousness that resides within, and there is an ignorance to the truth of reality. So it's twofold, this ignorance. It's ignorance in the sense that we believe our limited expression to be everything, and forget that we're actually this divine consciousness simply inhabiting a limited body, a limited perception of self. And ignorance in the sense that we ascribe our story of reality onto reality. So we see these mistruths, we believe limiting beliefs, we believe false narratives, and then we misinterpret our experience of reality and believe it to be the truth. And so this is why we suffer. Strangely enough, we have this built-in kind of sat-nav, this navigating home tool, this course correctiveness. And this is what suffering is. Suffering is pointing us back home. It's a useful tool in letting us know that something is wrong or something is out of alignment. Think of it like when you touch a hot kettle or stove or something very hot, you have this pain receptor which creates a reaction in you and lets you know that something isn't in alignment, that it's a feedback mechanism. And with something like physical pain, we understand it and we see that it's useful, and we're able to essentially to use that information to, course correct. I shouldn't touch that. Thing is, we do the same with our mental, emotional suffering. That's what that is. The pain that you're experiencing in your life, the mental, emotional suffering that you're experiencing is actually an invitation. It's an invitation letting you know that you're out of alignment with the truth. It's letting you know that you are living in an illusion, an illusionary state, that you've forgotten something integral to your essence, and you're living out of alignment with the nature of reality. Because the nature of reality is bliss, it's love, it's freedom. And when you're not in experience of that, it's letting you know that, hey, you're slightly off course, time to get back on course. And the suffering will continue and repeat when it's not taken as the signal that it's being offered as. So if you find that you're repeating the same cycle over and over again, and you don't know why, is because the signal, the course correctiveness is trying to communicate something to you that's not actually getting through. And so actually, rather than seeing suffering as a bad thing, seeing it as a blessing. It's said that Shiva is everything is Shiva, and Shiva meaning referring to blessing. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to course correct. So if you are experiencing suffering in your life, chances are that that's true, because everyone is. Mind-based suffering, just to clarify, is actually a beautiful thing. It's actually a blessing. And this idea of blessing, it's not a sense of trying to bypass, but a sense of, this suffering that I'm experiencing is trying to teach me something to get me back on track, to return to my essence nature, to return to this limitless sense of freedom and joy. And by listening to the suffering, by taking the time to unpick it, to understand it, to really, truly learn from it, that's how we can overcome it. This is what I do with the clarity consultancy and the technique that I have in mind yoga. It's finding the truth in the story that's being expressed and creating the suffering that's being experienced. By beginning to understand it at a deeper level, by removing the ignorance that's creating the suffering and returning to seeing the truth of what is, not the fabrications or the stories, the limited sense of what's causing that suffering, but seeing beyond that, returning to this truth, this transcendent principle of love, and how to access that in your everyday life can alleviate and end the sufferings. This is what Tantra teaches. It's about the ending of suffering, the liberation from suffering, that it's possible. Not only possible, it's attainable, and in this lifetime. And once that liberation has been enjoyed and experienced, then the worldly enjoyment can then come. I was going to say a different word, but I forgot what it was. I'm having a mind blank. But once you can realign to the nature of reality, the truth of what is, the essence nature of love, that infinite potential that resides within you, once you can find that again, by going through all of the layers of the stories and all of the emotions that are preventing you, when you can get to that essence, then all of the worldly enjoyment can come, can be enjoyed, can be yours. And then you're in a state of less ignorance. You're in a state of more awareness and truth. And then you can, from that position, be in service to others. Because by being in service to others, from that position of love, from that position of seeing the truth of what is, you show them another way, and you show them how they too can alleviate their suffering. And that inspires this cohesiveness of everyone living in a life of freedom and bliss, being able to enjoy all of the worldly delights together. And that can't be a bad thing, right? So if this resonates with you, if you're starting to see how the suffering you're experiencing can actually be a useful course corrective mechanism, it's the wisdom built into us to take and guide us back home when we go so far off course, then there's an invitation here, an invitation to start to write down and identify the stories that are creating the suffering that you're experiencing. And in doing so, you get the opportunity to rewrite them, to identify the beliefs that are limiting you and supplant them, replace them, update them with beliefs that are going to serve you more powerfully in life. And if this is something that you think you might struggle with, then you're more than welcome to reach out. This is what we do. This is how we work in the consultancy that we do. So good luck. You have the power within you to do this. And not only do you have the power, you have the potential and the ability. This is what Viktor Frankl speaks into, the concentration camp survivor, man's search for meaning author. He said that the last of the human freedoms is the ability to choose one's response to any given set of circumstances. And this is speaking into, even when everything seems like it's against you, you're in the worst of the worst circumstances, but you still have your freedom to choose how you view that situation. You get to view it as something that is going to defeat you, or you get to view it as something that's going to elevate you, something that's going to inspire you. And you have that, even if it sometimes feels like you don't. So if something resonated for you, drop it in the chat. Feel free to reach out. All the best, and speak to you soon.